Hello everyone and welcome back to Let's Play Hearts of Iron for the New Order, Last Days of Europe, with me, Alpha Biomega, and the Empire of Japan. So while we ended up, I don't want to say knee deep, but we certainly ended up somewhere in the DEFCON crisis in the previous episode. We'll have to see how far the rabbit hole really goes. I wanted to start this episode by saying that I feel really good about where we are right now. After the fall of Kaya's government and the many issues that we had, I was feeling a bit, paranoid and restless and really bad about how the situation in Japan looks, but now it seems like we have managed to fix things up. The economy is looking pretty good. It's going to look even better once the temporary relief kicks in. We have managed to help with the formation of Republic of Zaire and the Union of African Social States, and before we managed to get Peru and the Confederation of New Granada back into, enter into the co-prosperity sphere. Who get back is China and its, puppets or neighboring states, which got swallowed by the civil war in China. But that's over as well. So generally speaking, I feel really good about where we are right now. I guess time for the game to ruin it, huh? Anyway, let's start by reading the Chongqing, where everything started. The Battle of Chongqing ended in 1947, and as the last battle of the Second World War, both sides were equally devastated. Due to starvation and general dissent, most of the proper army of Chiang Kai-shek collapsed into disorganized militias. One of those militias was the infamous Loyal Patriotic Army, led by Dai Li. Despite massive shortages, Dai Li's leadership and fanaticism inspired his men to ferociously resist the Japanese. In the ruins of Chongqing, the supposedly dead body of Dai Li was found, and with LPA units limiting their activity, it was thought that total victory was finally won. Now that we know that Dai Li cheated death, we cannot be certain anymore. There are two major questions. Did LPA survive the aftermath of the Chongqing battle? And if so, are they still related to the great conspiracy set by Dai Li? Let's examine the aftermath of the battle. Okay. Actually, I wanted to say that we also have in the decisions a new category now called the Dai Li Crisis Investigation. I'm going to read this in full because I think it's important that we keep an eye on this one. What was once a simple intelligence operation turned out to be one of the largest conspiracies Japan would ever undergo as a nation, overwhelming even the central government, who is unable to determine the sheer scale of the conspiracy, let alone who's involved in it or what its aim is. There are 5 possible leads one can take to solve the investigation, ranging from incursions deep into China to covert operations in the United States, and lastly, investigation within Japan itself. Which path is chosen will determine your success in investigating the conspiracy. Pick the correct path and your conspiratorial investigation would go quicker than expected. Pick the wrong path and you will be setting yourself down a dark path for not only Japan but the whole co-prosperity sphere. Okay, well that's depressing. And we have not gathered sufficient evidence regarding Dai Li himself. We have not gathered sufficient evidence regarding the continued existence of Yun Tong. We have not gathered sufficient evidence regarding how Yun Tong operates. We have not gathered sufficient evidence regarding the Chinese involvement. We have not gathered sufficient evidence regarding internal disruption to our investigation. And sufficient evidence about affairs of Shanghai, and we have not gathered sufficient evidence regarding Admiral Miles' whereabouts. Okay, so we don't have anything at this point, but I'm pretty sure the game is gonna give us ways how to deal with it. We're gonna stockpile political power for now, because if something is going to be used here, it's gonna be political power. So from now on, we have to be really conservative with whatever we spend. We will never spend more than we have to. Let me just check the situation in the army. That's the one. Yeah, we're good. Paranoia 4.5. 80% support from the navy. 65% support from the army. Is there a way how to... No, every way how to fight paranoia costs political power. Okay. and in most cases it also costs. Okay, this one doesn't, but that also severely lowers the support. Fighting the service corruption, because we're bleeding out command power, actually very significantly. So what is this one? Remains of the Royal Patriotic Army, and here we start with the choices. Takechi Takamura's office swelters in the humid Sichuan weather, punctuated with the distinct smell of chungwas and a smattering of both Japanese and Chinese among his clerks. Hindu was nearing the far end of Tokyo's grasp over China, and while it may not be an active war zone like Mengyang was, it was a pretty dead-end posting for a career bureaucrat. That is until the reports by panicking locals started flooding. It started with an upsurge of Watchman Signal Company. Of Watchman weapons requisitions. Sure, a few surplus rifles and sidearms. Who cares what goes missing in the labyrinth of Japanese-controlled China anyway? Then, bit by bit, the weapons started to disappear, and then the decoration and warning started. Takamura was called to investigate an attack on a depot far to the north. Reading through the details of the attack, he felt his blood freeze. This is for Chongqing. There aren't that many organized resistance forces in the region that capable of such an attack, and the telltale signs were all there. Surely this can't be it, uttered Takamura. We got rid of the LPA ages ago. Call Sato for a private meeting. I think we may be onto something huge here. Irrelevant. Focus on Yunton Corps. Launch an investigation into Davies and militia forces. No, watch launch investigation into Davy. If it's a red herring, we should be able to figure that out. Okay, Signal Company is done. Now we can look at you. So we have two choices here. Streamlined Automation Techniques 1 or Flexible Automation Techniques. You give cap and growth of production efficiency of 10%. You give efficiency retention of 10, but cap of only 5 and base of 2. And you give more fine. Okay, we're gonna have flexible automation techniques. While the adoption of flexibility as a principle in production, with the adoption of flexibility as a principle of production, we can diversify our product range while retaining the same methods of industrial production. This promises to reduce the cost of production by increasing potential for standardization of equipment across the board. Okay, sure, that sounds like a good plan. So when do you pass the bill? In 27 days. Okay. Temporary relief. Now, one thing that I wanted to see was how we're doing with you guys. 190 needed for upgrades. 316. 4.4 per day. Okay, upgrade the existing vehicles. And we will look at that a bit later. Okay, it's 30th of September, so the economy is gonna jump up again, and debt is gonna drop again. Nice. It's really looking good. The yearly GDP surplus, though, has taken a huge drop. Okay. And what is this? The LPA core alert. This can't be real. You think we finally struck something? I'm sure of it. Northern Hangdu's been a red blip on the army since 2 weeks ago, quiet to utter Takamura, as he let out another puff from his half-finished cigarette. It seems as though he has finally tracked down the ever-elusive loyal patriotic army. or at least whatever's left of it. Though this was a shot in the dark, it was the only shot the department had at the moment, and time's ticking away before they can yet again bleed into the countryside. Maybe we can finally get this DEFCON shit moving. Maybe so, Sato, maybe so. Takamura and Sato quickly realized that their overstretched police squadrons probably wouldn't be up to the task for a job like this, and unfortunately, there's only one more authority in the region that could trust to expand these missions with the army. The pent-up paranoia from inter-service rivalry, partisan attacks understandably have made Takamura incredibly reluctant to cooperate with the army, let alone on such a high-risk mission like this. Unfortunately, only the army has the resources for such an excursion, to both conduct the sweep and gather sensitive intelligence from the countryside. Ring that old dog Fujimura right now. Tell him Takamura wants a meeting in confidence as soon as he lets go of that bottle. Oh, and don't bring the Kenpeta into this. Not yet, at least. Takamura knows he has to act, and he has to act fast. Now his entire premise hinges on whether the army is willing to cooperate in this sweep. It's the oddest thing that brings the strangest bedfellows together. Now let's see. Enforce faction unity, we don't need anything. When did it increase? Well, either way, the US surplus is still good. As long as we have a surplus, we are okay. Even if we had a small deficit. A red herring. Oh no! You know, I don't get why we are chasing Davy, even Takamura. I'm not even sure if the man is still alive. The room fills with cigarette smoke, par for the course for the overworked liaison officers in the tropical hell that is Sichuan. A faint measly light bulb shines on the room, leaving faint shadows. Faint shadows exactly like the ones Sato and Takamura were chasing. I don't either, but the evidence is there, I'm sure of it. We just have to Takamura was interrupted by a courier. Heaving to catch his breath, the courier manages to give the officer a salute before handing a folder to Sato. On its cover lays the words, After Action Report, 7th October 1968. Sato peeled the next page, eager in anticipation. What greeted him made his heart sing. Hey, Takamura, you may want to see this. Fearing the worst, Takamura snatched the folder from Sato's hands. His heart sank to his stomach too when he read its contents, followed by a deep sigh. Yuntong unit caught in raid, not affiliated to DEFCON. Any organization's connection to DEFCON is fragile. If existent commander suggestion, terminate investigation. Well, okay. We tried. Are we punished? No. But we're trying. And this is the bomb. Like, you know, you expect quite a lot from the game, but I was never expecting it to hit me with this kind of an event. It's actually really original. I like it. Okay, hold on. We're gonna drop these two back to where they belong. Yes, I want to. Loyal until the end. The Sichuan humidity was tempered by a misty morning drizzle as raindrops tap on the windows in Takeichi Takamura's office. What was usually a cool respite for the liaison's office turned into an immense distraction of his work on the investigation. Opposite him was Masaharu Sato, jovial, whistling the melody of a Shanghai barroom singer playing on the turntable. Cut it out, Sato, I'm working here. Well, where the hell are you even gonna start? There's 20 new groups calling themselves resistance fighters every month, only to reveal themselves as extortion gangs in the second week. It's not what you... Forget it. Just turn down the turntable a little and pass me that folder. Noteworthy groups and organizations. Interesting with the folder for a backwater like this. The folder was, as Sato had mentioned previously, filled with irrelevant and trifling groups. Hell, there were even single groups claiming to be directly loyal to Chiang Kai-shek himself. Ignoring how he's dead, and decided to do so for more than 20 years now, Takamura lights a cigarette and sighs in frustration until Sato breaks the silence. Hey, how come the new monastic order from Hui isn't in that file? Why on earth would you raise a suspicion on a monastic order? Because Tsuji shots damn near everyone who tries to leave. Either they're ridiculously lucky or they're not from Hui in the first place. Like sand in a sea of sand. The Order of Auspicious Jade. Why the hell didn't I guess that earlier? I told you before, Takamura, no real resistance fighter group would actually come out and call themselves resistance fighters. The Order of Auspicious Jade was an ordinary monastic organization on the surface. Adherents of Mongolian Buddhism, they claimed to be refugees from Hui State. An organization decided to forming mutual aid networks through their circle of temples to alleviate the misery as well as savagery brought upon by the Tsuji administration. Noble on the surface, it seems, with little reason to suspect, at least until one realizes that it's nigh impossible to evade Tsuji cavalry patrols roaming around the border of Hui to ensure nobody escapes. So what now? Well, we could just wait for them to reveal themselves. I heard from one certain Zhang Liren that they don't even speak Mandarin in this northwestern dialect. One of their leaders even sounds like he's from Yunnan. Takamura knows they don't have much time, but who can he rely on for a quick and decisive raid? The police, or the equipped rabble who are bathing in a cloud of opium half the time? The Genpatai? Who's to say that they're not allied? The only reasonable option left is the army, and he could count on a favor from a certain gambling addict colonel. Give me the address of the order's headquarters. I'll ring Colonel Tamechi once he lets his hand off the bottle. Okay. I mean, we're shooting in the dark obviously here, but anything is better than not doing anything. And here comes the temporary relief. Stockholm Conference succeeds. Okay, so now our economy will be growing by 3.61% per year, which is a growth of 0.30 every month. Which is really nice. Really nice. What about the poverty rate? If we can see that. Okay, minus 0.07. That's still not great, but it's better than what we had before. And what was the other thing? The administrative efficiency? No, public approval. Okay, and political power plus 100. Cool. So we're done with that. And now the stage is set. We get an event, an unlikely friendship, and we get extra stability and construction speed, and increase the relations with the reformists by 10%. Almost 300 political power. That is really nice. We'll burn quite a lot of it once the House of Cards is dealt a new hand, and the bill in the Diet is actually passing now, so let's wait for that. So we lose a bit of stability, but get an extra 5% public approval. Highly increased monthly public meeting effectiveness, administrative efficiency will begin to improve. Reformists' faction power and conservatives' faction power both increase by 2.5%, and relations increase by 5%. Stability will increase a little bit as well. But due to the changes, we still have more than we need for any bill that we would like to pass. Cool. I don't think we're actually going to pass anything more at this point. So let's go with the stage set. The reformists and conservatives have proven themselves to be reliable partners to one another. Through the strength of compromise, Ikeda and Takagi have opened a new way for Japan to proceed. One based not on the dogmatic tenets of either faction, but pragmatic decision-making, combining the best of both worlds. With the achievement of a consensus between the reformists and conservatives through the Yokusankai, the future of Japan never looked as bright before. However, this is merely the beginning of a beautiful friendship, an unlikely but fruitful and surprisingly natural alignment of political interest has provided the government with new course of action that it would not have even considered under sole conservative dominance. A new way that combines the sense of the conservatives and the sensibility of the reformists now lay open. And the only thing that remains is to follow in its track. So let's get that one. Government stability is 100%, support 60, public 89.5. Okay, really good. Wait, how are the reformists doing? Okay, 161. We have to be careful about that. So Stockholm Conference succeeds. The world waited with bated breath as the President of the United States, the Führer of the German Reich, met in neutral Stockholm to address methods of détente and the warming of relations between the two nations. It was a bold plan, the idea of collaboration between the Reich and America, and many countries around the world wished to see it succeed, or fail for their own reason. Could the hegemon of Europe and the bastion of freedom see eye to eye? In a turn of events shocking to many, the Stockholm Conference was a massive success for all parties. Though there were some initial disagreements, overall the event went swimmingly, with many deals and agreements being reached between the two parties. Now these two powers will turn their attention off one another and onto another target, most likely Japan. Not great. So what did you guys get? Let me check Stockholm. What's all the known? Okay, yeah, so there is a way here. The fruits of diplomacy. Vanguard the West. Another favor. The English issue. Support their claims. Asking for the invitation. Okay, so they want this way. Yet another failure would be if they decided that it's gonna fail. Okay, I don't know the Bormann's focus tree because we went with Göring, not with Göring, with, oh god, I forgot the name, not Göring, Jesus, the architect, the reformist, the Minister of Industry. I'm gonna remember soon. Roundup in Kingdu successful. Okay. Masaharu Sato stands underneath a street lamp in a seemingly empty road. Taking out a match, he lights one up and wipes it on his boot. He repeats the weird gesture again, twice for posterity. Upon the third match, 8 plainclothes agents armed with Arisaka rifles and numbers emerge from an alley. Almost thought you forgot the signal. Where's Takamura? Bureaucracy. The 9 men walk up to the monastery compound carefully, while stopping behind in a corner to avoid a sentry. The sentry made a faithful turn towards the patrol, and Sato locked him in a chokehold with a knife to his throat. I know who you are, and I know what you do. If you cooperate, I'll let you live. So answer this question good. Is the order a Yuntong unit? The sentry nods, gulping nervously. Good man. 2 of you, keep him tied here. The attacking detachments split themselves into 2 units, one from the main entrance and the rest from a side gate left untouched by the sentry. The ensuing firefight was a one-sided slaughter, with only 1 Japanese operative dead. As Sato approached the corpse of the order's leader, he stumbled upon several dossiers left in an unlocked safe. Operation Auspicious Jade, Kingdu Infiltration Contingency. At the foot of the soldier lies the personal seal of Daivi, as well as the Yuntong seal of approval. Sato lets out a grin. His work here is done. Okay. We have gathered sufficient evidence regarding the continued existence of Yuntong. Okay, so at least one thing is now done. The stage is set. Okay, but we still have a lot of work ahead of us. A huge lot of work. Shadows in Nanjing, remains of the Yuntong. The Chinese army was to be trusted. The Republic of China administration was also trusted, as the great reforms of Gao Zongwu were seen as beneficial to the whole sphere. Not anymore. With the revolution of Daiwi being alive, all cases were open once again. Corruption, so easily ignored earlier, now became the threat of national security. The parties' bizarre relationships, none of that was to be ignored anymore. Post-1947 Republic of China administration was purged out of agents, or at least it was believed so. Now, with the unholy revelation being unleashed, those events that should ring the alarm now would. Of course, the Republic of China and its administration is loyal to us, but lone wolves can work in a structure nonetheless. It is therefore very important to immediately conduct full-scale investigation into both civilian administration of the Nanjing government and the intelligence services of Jesfield 76, whose chief Ding Mokun, while loyal, proved to be rather incompetent. Unfortunately, while this objective has to be done, we have to rely on Chinese cooperation with us and that they will not slow down the investigation. We have to hope that the ROC will cooperate. Audit result. The Yuntong was decentralized. The group of agents waiting in the room were from two very separate worlds. To left sat a number of Chinese intelligence officials working to catch down the last traitors to China's new regime. To the right, the heart of Japan's investigative committee, on a mission to find a once-dead terrorist now influencing all of China to revolt. The Japanese investigators were hesitant of their Chinese comrades' findings, but remained eager to see the final result of the audit. The head of the joint Sino-Japanese group entered, holding a pile of papers, the summation of their work in tracking down the Yuntong. He distributed copies across the table, and the room was silent, but for the flipping of paper and reading. Auditing revealed that the Yuntong, Daiwi's powerful intelligence agency, is likely not in direct command structure. Rather, it appears that Yuntong has become decentralized, as small cells dot all of China with little cross-communication. A single hunt might bring in just half a dozen agents with no direct superiors. It seems that we will need to find out how exactly these cells coordinate their findings if the ghost of Chongqing is to be called and defeated. Any intercepted message must be analyzed far away from now on. Okay. We lost some production units. Oh no, we didn't. Okay. So either we gained more in the meantime, or that was just a ghost image. And we finished the modern special forces training. So let us now look here. Max building in state plus 10% and construction speed plus 5 is good. Extra units to GDP modifier. Extra resources. Okay, let's get the general building construction tool. Along with better education on designs and overall architecture, our people have now learned how to utilize technology well and make use of it for productivity. Therefore, new machinery and better tools ought to be employed for construction to aid in our building capabilities and better refine our nation's variety of structures. Okay, Zanzibar has defeated Tanganyika. Wait, it was here. Yeah, they're now united again. And let me see, did they gain? I was wondering if they got something from the conference. No, they didn't. Okay, but we have 1,000 score more than they do, so we are fine. Daiwi's motive. For all the research and investigation the committee has done, there was one question that had been put to the side for more pressing matters of finding Daiwi. What was his plan? Why was he still fighting a war decades gone past? The committee vetted much of Japanese top criminal psychologists to help piece together the mind of a terrorist. The investigators were clear, though, that even the slightest mention of their existence to the Japanese public would be met with an utmost repercussion on their entire careers at best. Around the conference table is one of many buildings the investigators occupied. Around the conference table in one of many buildings the investigators occupied, the dozen or so men and women who made up Japan's greatest psychologist could only come to a few conclusions. Some said Daiwi was simply driven insane by the war. Others suspected he could be planning an attempt to sabotage the army, or even overthrow the Chinese government. Other psychologists suggest countless other motives, though there were reasons for a thug to rob a home, not the driving force for a national conspiracy. After some more hours of debate, the conclusive statement is that of a currently unknown motive. As insane or vengeful as any fanatical holdout may be, China is not susceptible to any sort of uprising to turn them against the Japanese Empire. The investigators sigh in frustration. Daiwi's master plan can be predicted. Worrisome at best. Nice, the real GDP growth increased even further. And to my greatest surprise, we are actually gonna go above 280 billion in GDP. Though we dropped a little bit into a deficit now. Interesting to see. No, it doesn't even matter. I'm fine with that. Anyway, thank you very much for joining me. See you in the next episode.